Hello and welcome back to another episode of BattleCHAT, where you guys chill out and I talk about BattleCon concepts. In this episode, we're going to be talking about icing on the cake. Now, if you haven't watched a majority of my videos involving certain characters, you might not know what icing on the cake means. Icing on the cake refers to somebody's unique ability, basically being icing on the cake. The main draw of the character is their cards or their playstyle rather than focusing heavily on the unique ability. Now, why is this a very important concept to understand? I believe this is an important concept to understand because I think that sometimes hyper-focusing on your unique ability actually hurts your chances of winning. Now, this isn't usually the case. Most of the time, your character's unique ability synergizes very well with the way your character plays, so much so that focusing on your unique ability goes hand in hand with focusing on your character's cards and capabilities. However, this isn't the case for every single character in the game. Some characters exist where their unique ability is the titular icing on the cake. It doesn't really integrate into their playstyle to a big degree, and in fact, most of the time, hyper-focusing on that unique ability will cause you to lose games. One of the biggest examples of this would be Pendros, who is a brawler character with big stats. Now, the divide between him and his unique ability is very blatant. Pendros is a character who uses powerful stats in combination with good hit confirm and defense to crush opponents. However, this doesn't really seem to synergize with his unique ability, which focuses on summoning markers on the board, which gives various benefits or detriments to the player standing on them. Pendros is hardly what you would call a control character who has various movement effects that allow him to dictate the position on the board. Instead, he's more of a brawler. His movement effects are small and far in between. So, looking at this, you can easily see how focusing on Pendros' unique ability can make you lose the game. If you're too focused on getting the markers or forcing opponents onto markers, you'll miss out on Pendros' biggest and most powerful plays in his attack pairs that really don't contribute to that game plan all that much. So you can see how focusing on his unique ability can be bad for you, and instead maybe you should look at it more as icing on the cake. Another big example of this would be someone like Magdalena. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Why would I go with icing on the cake with Magdalena? Isn't her entire game plan focused on reaching high levels? Now, this is absolutely true, but at the same time, hyper-focusing on her unique ability can be a big problem. As oftentimes we'll see, Magdalena's really at her strongest when she gets to her higher levels, but sometimes that's not gonna be enough. She only reaches level 4 really late into the game, giving her very limited time to actually clean up her opponent. If Magdalena spends too much time focusing on leveling up without whittling her opponent's health bar down, she'll find herself hard-pressed for time because she'll have very few beats left in order to make up that health difference she's neglected to remedy. This means that Magdalena kinda has to look at her unique ability as icing on the cake at some point. Perhaps early on she has to hyper-focus on it, but once she reaches a certain level, she has to switch a switch in her head. She has to flick a switch and go, maybe it's time to start fighting back and use my actual attacks instead of just delaying the game for levels. Another big example of this would be Rexan. Rexan is a character who uses his unique ability to give people curses, while his cards are all about brawling and hitting people for lots of damage. These two abilities don't really mix well with each other. His unique ability probably goes onto some controlly tricksy character because it's all about lowering opponents' power levels. On the other hand, he's a character who's essentially just a hyper brawler. These two unique abilities don't really mix and match. Focusing on your unique ability too much and trying to get payouts with it by making your opponent keep curses is not the way to go, and in fact most of the time will cause you to lose the game because Rexan's biggest strengths come in his cards that play off of his unique ability. So it's characters like these that make me think that sometimes, though a unique ability is what makes a character, what defines a character, you have to look at it as icing on the cake. Most of the time, it's very good to focus on your unique ability's strengths, but remember that sometimes focusing too much on that can make you lose the game. And though these 3 characters that I've listed down are some of the most extreme examples, this can apply for almost every single character in the game. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your unique ability or whatever bonuses you get from it in order to make a good play with just your cards. Because sometimes the benefit you gain from playing into your unique ability does not justify the cost when it comes to resources or winning the beat. However, I believe that there's a balance to be struck, because as much as focusing on your unique ability can sometimes make you lose the game, choosing to neglect it can make you lose an equal amount of the time. This means that it's all about knowing your character really well. Understanding your character's strengths and weaknesses can go a long way in making sure that you're focusing on the right thing at the right time, and making sure that you're not losing games because you're too busy trying to make your unique ability work. But that is just my opinion, and that's just me having a little battle chat. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, do put them in the comment section down below because I'd love to read them. If you have your own opinions, maybe you think that these characters are better off focusing on their unique abilities, or maybe you have examples of your own. Do share them with us in the comment section down below because I'm sure everyone would love to read it. And as with any battle chat video, if you guys have any suggested topics you want me to cover, do put them in the comment section down below because they will become the topic for a future video. Without much else to say, thanks for watching and good night.